So we're getting close to the river property. We came out of Willow Springs and we took Highway 76 to the west for about 6.5 miles. And then we went left or south on Highway 181, and we went pretty much exactly 6 miles, and we took a right onto County Road 278, and that's the gravel road that we're on right now. I set my trip meter when we took that right, and we have gone 1.8 miles. I just turned 1.9, and we're about to turn right on another gravel road. It's labeled as 260. It may or may not show that on your map, but it's 1.9 miles from the pavement. So we're gonna go right here. I'll set the trip meter, although once we get to the bottom, we're pretty much at the property. Now this hill is a little rough. When we came out of Willow Springs on 181, and turned onto the last gravel road, we went that way because it's a little quicker. But had we turned onto a gravel road before that, we could have come at the property from the other direction and not had to deal with this hill. It just would have taken a little longer. So this hill's a little rough. It wouldn't be something I'd want to do every day in a car. In a truck, it's not a big deal, but if you want a smoother ride, you can come at the property from the other direction. Really popular area. We're almost down to the river now. There's a driveway off to the left. Somebody, it looks like they just recently installed that. But we'll go on past that. And now we're at the base of the hill. We're really close to the property. Another couple hundred feet. Those double gates, those are not it. Is it this one? And here it is up on the left. And you'll see a blue gate that looks a little worse for wear. There we go. And it looks like the county graded this kind of recently, so there was a little bump there as we pulled onto the approach. In any kind of truck or SUV, that's not an issue, but if you're in a car, you don't want to proceed really slowly there. And Obie's opening up the gate, and we're about to pull onto the property, and we'll probably drive right down to the river. So obviously it's gated, nice and private. There's a power pole right there with the meter base. So it's set to go. I think there's even an RV plug-in on that deal. And if you look across, you'll see there's a neighbor over there. He built his house about 2 years ago, and he elevated it. He built it up 4, 5, 6 feet because you could potentially get water up here if there was a big rain. Doesn't stop you from building, but keep in mind you'd want to probably elevate your structure. Now with that being said, years ago the person who owned this property put a mound up here. That I shouldn't have tried to climb so slowly. I'll try it 4-wheel drive. There we go. I'm gonna hop out here. Have a look at this. So he built this mound with the idea that he could put a little cabin or something up here and be nice and high and dry. This sits a good, I don't know, 6, 8 feet above the surrounding ground. The guys just came out and mowed this the other day, but it had not been mowed in several years. So it does still look a little rough since it was the first time it was mowed. But this cleans up beautifully. I've seen this after it's been cleaned up and it's really nice. There is actually a fence over there, but that part had some extra debris or thick bushes or whatnot, so the guys didn't mow it, but there is a fence along that side. It doesn't go all the way down to the river, the fence. The corner of the fence is back there. Now when the river gets up, generally this upper part and up by the road, that won't be wet. But as we drive into that lower part, that could potentially be wet. It takes a lot of rain for the part up by the road to ever get wet. Down the mountain. Whoa. A little steeper than I remember. This is just an old fence line here. But now you can see we dropped down a little more. And with those small trees being pushed over, you can see there has been water up through here. In fact, this last year, we had a really big flood, and the neighbor down the road, who's lived here literally over 50 years, said it was the biggest he had ever seen. And that's probably why some of those trees are pushed over. But there's the North Fork River. This has direct river frontage. Not close to the property, not across the street from the property. This has direct frontage on the North Fork River, which has always been a popular river, but in the last about 10 years, it's become immensely popular. This property is kind of special because it's got the actual river frontage, and then it's got this little inlet. The water backs up a little bit, which makes just a spectacular place to put in a little boat or canoe, or just to mess around and have fun. Now the super cool thing about this property, and the reason it's one of the most special we've ever had the pleasure of selling, is if you look basically directly across, and I don't have a map with me, but if you look at a map, the property continues on the other side of the river, and there is about 5 acres on that other side of the river with several hundred feet of river frontage. And as I look down the river a little bit and across, that's the other property. It's got a flat area by the river. It goes fairly steeply up to the top, and then there's a flat area on the top with some potential building sites that are just spectacular. And as we look to the right and across, that's National Forest. That's the Mark Twain National Forest. So if you've been looking for a really, really unique property, this is probably, or should be, at the top of your list. Not only is it, very secluded, very private with river frontage, but it's got power directly on it with the meter base. So you never have to mess around trying to get power to the property. Phone will be available as well, of course. And you've got, this is the real deal, this is actual frontage on the North Fork River. I'm not going to walk across this to the water, to the actual river, but yeah, you can see the river. It's on the other side of that little little finger of land, and then this is going back a little bit. So look at the maps to get a better idea how it is all situated. But this is a pretty darn special property, bordering the river and the Mark Twain National Forest. You own that land across as well. So super private. No one can ever build across from you because it's your property and National Forest. And there is also access via a trail back through the national forest to that property. I've been told you can get a permit from the Forest Service, although people have been using that road for probably 100 years without a permit, but yep, permits are available. But anyway, that'll give you a good idea of how the property looks. Feel free to do your own research on the North Fork River. It's pretty amazing. Great fishing and great floating, kayaking and canoeing. Just down the river a few miles, there's a big outfitter called Twin Bridges Canoe, and they've got a store and a little bar and lounge or something, and they rent cabins as well. So this is a little upstream from there, so there's not going to be all that commercial traffic. You'll have a few people coming by on tubes and kayaks. And we've gone 10 minutes already, so I'll cut this short. But that's the property on the North Fork River. We're in Douglas County, Missouri. Oh, actually, since I'm here, you can see this stake right here, and that's going to be about the property line. The property actually does go to the water, but the stake was set back. And then the other line, of course, would be back that way. Nice property.